This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Hey, what's up, and welcome to Hot Takes, the show where I respond to the hot takes that you leave under my comment section. Always a fun video that I like to do and get out over the weekend. We're going to start with realistic free agent targets. You guys had a lot to say under this video. My guy Cottonwood Slim says, could you imagine Chris Jones lining up next to Miles? Who would you double team? You might want to keep a tight end in the back, throw a quick screen, have JOK get a TFL. It's fun to think about. You know, I think it's interesting to think about, and I think about it from a little bit of a different angle because it's like they're still going to double team Miles, but it's about what do you do with your entire passing concept, because it's like if you're going to double team Miles and maybe you keep a tight end in, it's going to be about getting rid of the ball. It's going to be about what you limit teams to. If you have Chris Jones and Myles Garrett, I promise you'll probably see 10 7-step drops all season and very few 5-step drops. It's going to be a lot of 3-step drops. It's going to be a lot of shallow stuff, right? And then if those teams are throwing out a lot of shallow stuff, then your corners can just basically pin their ears back and get aggressive and start crashing in on stuff because they're just not going to respect anything over top because they don't think you had the time to get to it. Then you add in the fact that, okay, now your linebackers can be aggressive. Now JOK can get downhill. Now Grant Delpit can get downhill. They're going to have their hands full no matter what with the Browns defensive line. But if Chris Jones is there, I mean, like the just without even getting pressure, like you notice, I talked about this whole thing about how he can be effective. This is just those two existing on the same defensive line, the kind of pressure it puts on teams and the kind of impact it has on games. That's a tremendous impact without those guys even getting pressure. If those guys get pressure, then it even gets worse because now you're talking about batted passes, you're talking about turnovers, you're talking about a lot of things, a lot of havoc being created. And also think about this, Chris Jones plays the interior position at 6'6", 6'5", and he's a very long athlete. So not only do you have two dynamic edge rushers, but you have two guys who are really long and can jump high that are just creating these super high fences to throw over even if they don't get to you. It would be a minefield. It would be basically and virtually painful for offensive coordinators because not only is a quarter to half of your playbook already thrown out the window, you would basically have to hope that you have run game success against this unit. And if you don't, and you have to resort to throwing the ball a lot, you're gonna have to hope that you're not down by that much. Like basically, if the Browns got a 14-point lead with those two on the defensive line, they would probably be a 1 seed. If they had an offense that can get a 14-point lead consistently, they would hands down easily be the 1 seed because if they could get up 2 scores on somebody with that kind of defensive line, it would basically be a wrap for a lot of teams. Like you would have to be spectacular to overcome that. And there's like 7 quarterbacks in the league, I think, can do that on a consistent basis. So yeah, it would be pretty magical. WWZ World War Z says, I expect the Raiders to cut Hunter Renfrow. He would be a nice wide receiver 3, has playing history with Deshaun. Should not be that expensive. The other player is a free agent now. D'Ernest Johnson could fill in for Nick Chubb for the few games, split carries with Nick as he returns to play. Neither of these two should cost very much. Yeah, I don't mind going back to D'Ernest. The issue with D'Ernest is I think D'Ernest is a feature back and not necessarily a back who thrives when he has to split carries. I think you see the best out of D'Ernest when he's allowed to get that 15, 20 carry number, and he's just never going to get that in a backfield for the Cleveland Browns because even if we have D'Ernest Johnson, we're going to split in Nick Chubb, we're going to split in somebody else, Jerome Ford. I don't know if the carries are there for D'Ernest Johnson to be really effective. I want somebody who can just get the job done with 8 carries, and that's not really been D'Ernest's forte. in his NFL career. As far as Hunter Renfrow goes, I don't mind it. I don't think it's a bad move if you go after Hunter Renfrow, sure. But I don't think it's necessarily like the type of wide receiver the Browns need. I think the Browns need a bigger body, kind of 50-50 ball type guy. Could be wrong on that, but I think that's more or less what they need there to kind of take some of that end zone pressure off David Njoku in the run game, to kind of free things up. And if you're gonna allow your wide receivers to adjust more, I think Mike Williams is the type of wide receiver you get. Now Hunter Renfrow can do well on those option routes, those choice routes as well. So it wouldn't be a bad pickup there. If you want to go downfield, if you want to attack, kind of be a headhunter 40 plus down there, then I think that Mike Williams is probably the guy you go with. But Hunter Renfrow wouldn't be bad either, but he fits a different role in that wide receiver role. When they question what about Denico Autry, I think he's been a better fit of Miles instead of Reader, simply because he's more of a pass rusher. I know he's older, but he provides inside-outside versatility. He's coming off a career year sack-wise at Tennessee, has a history of Jim Schwartz. Yeah, I don't think Denico Autry would be a bad move. It wouldn't be my first choice. Like, I would rather have DJ Reader because I think DJ Reader's the better overall player. And I don't know how much it matters that the other bookend can play edge, because what we've seen with Miles is that Miles is going to get double teamed no matter who's at the other edge position. And since Miles is on the defensive line, they're just going to try to take edges out of it completely by just throwing the ball quickly. I would rather invest in getting pressure up the middle, which makes getting rid of the ball quickly kind of more difficult. So I honestly would be more on the DJ Reader train and try to, build that wall. Don't let teams get rid of the ball quickly if that's going to be their plan against Miles. And kind of make them pay for that, create some havoc. Nick Chubb is 1 in a billion. This is what we learned from Andrew Berry's combine interview. My guy MHP says the best move for Nick Chubb at this point would be to sever his relationship with the Browns, sign an incentive-laden league minimum contract this has to be a troll, right? With Tampa Bay or San Francisco. The Browns are going nowhere with Watson. Chubb has a Hall of Fame career being wasted in Cleveland, teaming back up with Baker Mayfield. Teaming back up with Baker Mayfield and winning a chip would stick it to the eye of this organization. A move to San Francisco wouldn't get Nick Chubb the stats, but would give him a proven weapon that he could go over the top. No matter what Nick Chubb does, he needs to get the F out of Cleveland. This gotta be a Steeler fan, right? I needed that, man. Hey, I appreciate that, man. I needed that because I haven't heard a good joke in a while. And that is hilarious. Oh my goodness. I belly laughed. I legitimately belly laughed. Like I read some of this question before I put it up here. I didn't read the whole. I didn't know how ridiculous it got, but it's so. Oh man, yeah, man. I bet Nick Chubb definitely wants to play on a league minimum incentive-laden deal with Baker Mayfield to show the Browns. I don't know what he's showing the Browns because the Browns have treated him pretty well. But yeah, man, sure, dog. I gotta find a way to ban alcohol from the comment section because I swear some people be getting drunk and then just be trolling the comment section. Browns save 12 mil in cap space NFLPA report cards. Ted Rivers says for the training facility, I remember hearing they had bought up a few lots around the old area, which leads me to believe they will be using those areas to expand. Also, Kevin said earlier that they are planning on building a new weight room. The old weight room was turned into a regeneration area, which is why they never moved it off the field. Yeah, I know they use some of that lot already because that's where they have like a warehouse where they take the pictures at for the stadium. I assume that will eventually become the weight room. It's tough though, unless you could build a bridge. Like I don't think they want to have the players have to cross the street, like get to the weight room because it provides a lot of security issues. If you just had these dudes like cross, because they're not just regular dudes, they're football players, they're very famous. We've seen, with the crime spree that happened to him last year, this type of stuff that can happen to him, like that you want to have a secure. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not an architect. I'm not going to act like I'm an expert in this area. I'm just excited to see what they do, where they do it, because I think that training facility definitely needs some renovations for sure. Um, what we learned from Kevin Stefanski's combine interview. Brad Pitt says, "Bro, you don't be on the Cavs burner at all." It's tough, with my upload schedule on this channel, and then some behind the scenes stuff. There's more contractual obligations that I have to this channel, other things, and I just don't have the time to upload 3 more times a week to the Cavs burner when I'm already doing Q and Cope and these other things. Also, since my host for the Cavs Attack podcast is no longer able to do the show with me, because everybody, like, people just get busy. I haven't been able to find a host. It's been in flux this year, and it's definitely taken a backseat because of a lot of other opportunities. I'm trying to get that channel back up to the point to where I like it, on where I can upload at least 2 times a week, or at least maybe 1 time a week. But I also want to find the right people, right, to do the Cavs Attack podcast with. I want to be able to make videos that I feel like are good. And right now, with preparing for everything and all the new responsibilities that I have with this channel and the Q and Code channel, it's difficult to do that without, doing that coverage of this service. So, I'm gonna try with the Cast Burner, and maybe as the off season progress, I'm able to upload there more. But yeah, man, it's definitely something I would like to do more. But also, I'm one person, and the Cavs burner as a channel is not necessarily profitable enough to where I can hire somebody to really offload a ton of that work with. So it's a bit of a mix between art, what I want to do, and business. It's something I'm learning, trying to manage. So that's why you haven't seen as much on the Cavs burner, but hopefully I get uploading on there more often, especially once we get into the playoff crunch. Time will free up. I'm not going to have as many responsibilities with this channel. Let's get to the next question. Cleveland CBI says, "Hey Q, what do you expect from Deshaun Watson this year? I'm hoping he's borderline top 10. I'd be very happy with a healthy full season and at least 25 touchdowns." I don't know what I expect. I don't want to put it in like stats. Like, I think with Deshaun Watson, you should feel like you have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Like, that's the legit. Like, remember how we felt after the Baltimore game? We felt like we legitimately, for the first time since reactivation, had a chance to win the Super Bowl. Now, that's not solely up to Deshaun Watson. That also has to do with the defense playing at a high level. That has to do with the unit, everybody. Like, it all has to be going well. But no matter what happens, Deshaun Watson could throw for 5,000 yards. If the team wins 8 games, we're not going to look at that as a success, right? So, to me, what's going to be a success for Deshaun Watson is that if we feel like this Browns team is a legitimate Super Bowl contender, right? Whatever he has to get to play wise, statistically, to get us to that point, because it didn't take much. It only took 14 passes and like 100 yards for us to be like, oh no, we could do this with him, right? So the stats, those are a side effect, right? I could care less about that, but we need to feel that we have a legitimate chance to win a Super Bowl with him at quarterback. And we were there for like a moment last year. Who knows how we would have felt by the end of the season, but after that game, we were there. And that's where we need to be at for the majority of next year. It's not going to be every week. There are weeks where people don't think Pat Mahomes going to win the damn Super Bowl or that the Chiefs ain't the Super Bowl champion. So it's not going to be all 17 weeks, but you really need to feel overall at the end of the season that the Browns had a real chance to win the Super Bowl, or obviously if they don't just have a chance that they won it, right? But that's what you want to be, Super Bowl contenders. And whatever he has to do to get the Browns to that point or help the Browns get to that point, is whatever I would be happy with at the quarterback position. Because ultimately, we traded for Deshaun Watson to feel how we did after that Baltimore game. The reason that we could not continue on with Baker Mayfield is because we just did not feel like that championship contender status was able to be reached with him at quarterback due to the turnovers, the inconsistent play, all of those things. So you need to get to that point to justify the trade, the contract, and everything, because that's what you were hoping to get to with Deshaun Watson. Not a statistical output. Baker could put up great stats. We all know it. But you need to be able to feel like you have that chance to win a Super Bowl with that guy. You're a legitimate contender. And again, we had a moment of that after the Baltimore game. That's what we need to feel for the majority of next season, is that, okay, we got a real chance. We are a serious contender this year. And I think that if Deshaun would have been healthy for the rest of the year, there's a strong chance that we would have felt like we were serious contenders and maybe even pushed Baltimore or gotten to the AFC Championship game, and who knows what could happen at that point. Because I think they were a really good team when Watson was out there. The problem was he was only out there for 5 games. Thank you for the question. And that is what is that it? Yeah. And that is it for this week's Hot Takes. I want to thank you guys for asking these questions. Y'all have a great day. Have a better night. Peace.